purpose of this public hearing is to hear testimony on Bill number 180991. I recognize that a quorum of the committee members are present. To my left is Councilwoman Helen Gim. To my right is Councilwoman Maria Quinones Sanchez and Councilman Alan Dom. I want to ask any of the council members who are present, do you have any opening remarks? No. The clerk will now read the title of the bill being considered today.
An ordinance amending Title 22 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Public Employees Retirement Code to modify the terms of Plan 16 to change certain contribution rates and to make technical amendments, all under certain terms and conditions.
The clerk will please call the first witness to testify on the bill.
Rob Dubow.
Thank you, Mr. Dubow. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Councilman Parker and members of the committee. I'm Rob Dubow, and I'm the Finance Director. And I'm here today to testify in support of Bill number 180991, which will adjust pension reforms in place for deputy sheriffs and Register of Wills employees to make them consistent with the pension reforms passed last spring for all other municipal plan employees. Pension reforms were implemented for deputy sheriffs and Register of Wills as a result of their 2017 arbitration award. After that award was issued, the city reached agreements with DC 47, which included significant pension reform, and subsequent legislation was passed to enact those reforms for DCs 47 and 33. Employees who were exempt from civil service and employees who are in civil service but not represented by a union. In November, the city and deputy sheriffs and Register of Wills reached a memorandum of agreement to adjust their pension reforms to match those in place for all other municipal plan employees. If this bill is passed, it would modify the contribution rates for those employees and change their stacked hybrid plan for new hires. Under the tiered contribution system, employees with higher salaries would make larger additional contributions to the pension fund. The increase would range from 0.5% for employees who make over $50,000 to 2.75% for employees who make over $100,000. Stacked hybrid places a $65,000 cap on pensionable earnings for newly hired employees. Both changes would be effective January 1st, 2019. The additional contributions increase the fund's assets, and the stacked hybrid plan provides retirement security for employees while also reducing the plan's liabilities. Over time, both changes improve the long-term health of the plan. That concludes my testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dubow. For the record, the chair recognizes the presence of Councilman Taubenberger and Councilman Green. Mr. Dubow, I just want to walk through some of what you described in your testimony as being the pension reform that the city of Philadelphia has been able to achieve through collective bargaining. That is the increased contributions that employees are making to the pension fund. That cap, that $65,000 cap for the defined benefit portion of their pensions, and the stacked hybrid, that's what we describe it as. Tell me, if you will, because it's according to your testimony, we're talking about DC 33, DC 47, and now, as a result of this legislation, it'll be deputy sheriffs and Register of Wills employees. But I don't think that residents in the city of Philadelphia understand the historic nature of what we just achieved. Council didn't pass legislation to dismantle the retirement security for the city of Philadelphia's workforce. When we talk about DC 33 employees, and I want to just state this for the record, we're talking about sanitation workers, water department employees, clerks, crossing guards, and correctional officers. When we talk about DC 47, We're talking about our social workers, our librarians, and our probation officers. And then we're talking about our deputy sheriffs and our register of will employees, along with exempt and non-rep employees who have all contributed more and helped through their efforts to do what I call is share in the sacrifice of attempting to reduce the unfunded liability, strengthen the fiscal stance of our pension fund while trying to balance retirement security. Tell me, if you will, and I think you've been around. I don't want people to think I think you're a dinosaur, Rob DeBoe, but I think you've been here.
Maybe a little.
I think you've been here, Rob DeBoe, through multiple administrations. Have we ever achieved through collective bargaining the pension reform that was recently achieved through all?
Not in decades.
Not in decades.
Yeah.
So, and I want to note for the record, for the benefit of the listening audience, that we are talking about 11,000 city workers, and you heard me just describe them, from DC 33, 4,000 from DC 47, 400 from the deputy sheriffs and register of wills, and approximately 4,000, those are exempt and non-rep employees. Why is this important for you to note? That means that almost 19,400 working men and women in our great city of Philadelphia are making contributions that they negotiated, not that this council legislated, but that they negotiated through collective bargaining to balance the interests of their retirement security along with the city's fiscal health. And I don't think that our city, our administration, and or the workers who we just acknowledged, that they get enough recognition for noting that the fiscal health of the city of Philadelphia is just as important to them as it is to others, because all we constantly hear about is this $6.1 billion of unfunded liability because we're 45% funded. But what we just negotiated, it will put the city of Philadelphia on the path to improving the fiscal health of our pension fund. And I just wanted to note that for the record. Somebody in here is saying, Cherelle, why did you just walk through that very lengthy process of telling us who the workers are in 33, 47, and all of the others I noted? Because those workers, unlike all who benefit from being paid by the city of Philadelphia, and this is very important to note, they are required by law to live in the city of Philadelphia. So this constituency that we're referencing, this is the constituency, they own homes in the city of Philadelphia. They're the people who will help us stabilize Philadelphia neighborhoods. And they don't have the luxury of deciding whether or not they can, live here, do everything that they do here, or whether or not they cross City Line Avenue, Cheltenham Avenue, or to go over to the county. They have to be residents of the city of Philadelphia. So, Mr. DeBoe, I want to thank you so very much for your testimony, and ask, are there any of my colleagues who have any questions or want to make any comments? Councilwoman Gim? I'm sorry, I want to acknowledge the presence of Councilman Brian O'Neill, who is the vice chair of the committee, and Councilwoman Gim will acknowledge you and will come.
I just want to state for the record, I don't think Mr. DeBoe's been around long at all.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Councilman.
Councilwoman Gim. The public hearing, and we will now go into the public meeting to consider the action to be taken on the bill to be heard today. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim for a motion on bill number 180991.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that bill number 180991 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that Bill number 180991 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further moved that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Bill number 180991 will be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, with the request that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at the next session of council. This concludes the business of the Committee on Labor and Civil Service for today. Thank you all very much for your attendance.